Our last topic would be a bit different. It will be more about designing mobile applications and games. Many of us are using games on the iPhone and the Android system, but what does it take behind it to make them? So we would like to hear from Omar Alhaddad, the founder of Diwaniya Labs, to share his experience on designing mobile games. So please welcome Omar.
Assalamu alaikum, ya'tikum al-afiyah. My name is Omar Alhaddad. I run a mobile game development company called Diwaniya Labs. At Diwaniya Labs, we build mobile games that are targeted for the Middle East and North Africa market. For these users that are lacking in local and culturally relevant content. We saw a gap in the market, and we saw the growth of mobile, and we wanted to capitalize on that. So these are some of our titles. This is our first title right here, I quote. It's a local cards game that's very popular in Kuwait. We released this game in 2010, and thankfully we had very good traction. So we started the company, and since then, since 2010, we released about 9 titles. So this talk will not be on Diwaniya Labs. We'll be focusing on the mobile platform and mobile apps and mobile websites. So I'll be talking mainly about the importance of the mobile platform and where we are in it now. And I'm going to talk, the second part is going to be ways to deliver mobile content to users, whether you need an app or a website, or what's the difference between them, and how to decide which one is better for you. And lastly, I'm just going to leave you off with some trends, considerations, or tips when you're designing a website or a mobile app for your business. So it comes as no surprise, we always hear about this mobile trend. This mobile trend has been going on for a while, and it's not the future, it's the present actually. Currently, the mobile subscribers are almost matching the world population. And the penetration rates are very high. In developed countries, they're almost 200%. App downloads are also in the billions. And the users who only use mobile content are on the rise, meaning they only use mobile, they don't even use desktop at all. So this is a graph that more emphasizes this point. This shows you a statistic between desktop users and mobile users. And this is in Kuwait for the past 4 years. You can see that mobile users in 2010 were 4%. And in only 4 years, they rose to about 40. And in a lot of countries, they actually surpassed desktop usage. And this will also happen in Kuwait. There will come a point where mobile users will be more than desktop users, much more actually. So this is what happened in a very short period of time. So the takeaway here is that mobile is very important. As entrepreneurs or as businesses, it's very important that we focus on the mobile presence of our businesses. And it cannot be ignored anymore. Especially in this market where we have massive growth in the mobile businesses and platforms, and we have very little local content to support them. So there is very huge demand from the users for mobile content, but very small percentage of businesses actually tailor their businesses for mobile. So as a business, as an entrepreneur, how do I deliver my mobile content to the users? Well, there are 2 main ways. You could have some sort of mobile optimized website, or you could have a native app that is installed on the relative mobile platform. I will talk about each one and I will compare both. But first, let's talk about the mobile optimized website and how do we do that. So historically, websites started on desktop, but as mobiles started becoming more powerful and more popular, the need arose that we have another website that is more optimized for mobile. So a lot of businesses started to create 2 websites. And this is where mobile web apps came about, where you have your normal desktop website and then you have another mobile optimized website or a web app. They're usually built around frameworks that streamline the creation of these apps. The disadvantage of having a mobile optimized website is that you will have two websites to some extent that you need to take care of. And another trend, which is responsive web design or responsive websites, is relatively new. And basically it revolves around the idea of tailoring the content based on the platform that the user is using. And I'll elaborate more on responsive design. So this new trend is based around the idea that the website itself should be smart enough to recognize what platform that the user is running in, and then custom tailor that experience to the platform and the screen size. So the same website or the same web app that we will be using, the same code base, you'll be building it once, but you'll be building it with multiple screen sizes and multiple platforms in mind. So when you come design it, you don't just design it for the website, you design it for all the widths that are possible. Mobile responsive design is a cheaper alternative to web apps because you don't have to maintain two separate websites. You can have the same website. Of course, it's a very elegant solution to the multiple platforms problem, but it comes with a few disadvantages, like loading time could be slow. If your website is heavy on content, it would be a little bit slower, and yeah, so that's responsive design. So why do you need a different website for your for mobile platforms? You might already have a desktop website and you'd be thinking, users can already reach me and they already see me. And the answer here is simply user experience. We as humans, we really like a nice user experience. When we are giving a certain task to go into a website, and the website is shown like this on the right, where everything is small and you have to zoom in, pinch, pan, do different, like 4 or 5 things to do what you want to do. This is a bad user experience. And when your customers experience this sort of thing, they will not be happy. So the second way to deliver mobile content would be through native apps. And native apps are basically, they're just regular applications that are installed on the device itself. And they are more native because they use the powerful features of the device, whatever they be. So there are many approaches to build native apps. I don't want to get too technical, so if anyone has a question, you can ask me later. But the main ways right now are to build apps natively on each platform individually. So if you want to build on, let's say, Apple, you would have to get an Apple programmer and build the Apple program, and then same thing for Android and Windows. Obviously, this is very expensive and maybe not practical for some businesses because they're just starting out and they don't want to maintain 3 different things at once. So there's alternatives. There are things called cross-platform frameworks where you can develop your app once and then have the framework itself publish it for you for each different platform. And by doing that, you're really cutting costs because you're developing it once and then you're maintaining only one code base, which is much, much cheaper than developing for 3 different platforms that require 3 different expertise and then having to maintain them and service them. There's one last type of web apps and applications, which is a hybrid web app. Some people do something that's in between. They would build some sort of wrapper natively on the device, and that wrapper would point to a website. And a lot of people also use this technique. So this is just to compare what we talked about between the web and native apps. When it comes to cost, web is much cheaper. And that's because the technology has been around for a very long time, and a lot of people are already experienced with the web. Apps are relatively new, so they're more expensive. When comparing regarding smartphone functionality, The web is very limited because it doesn't tap into the device's features. Device's features, I'm talking about GPS, compass, accelerometer, the sensors in the device, notifications, the push notifications. These things you won't get if you only have a website. You need a native app that's on the device. And these are features that could be very powerful depending on what you need from the app. Another thing is universal accessibility, and the web is more accessible where native apps are limited, and that just means that you can access the web from any device. You don't need an iOS to open an iOS app, rather than any device that has a browser can just go into any website. So it's more accessible. When it comes to user experience, that native apps deliver a more specific user experience. This user experience fits in with the system that's being used. If you're using iOS, it fits in very well in the system. And when I say specific in general, it's just that the experience that you can tweak it very in a specific way that matches the behavior of the users that you want to get. Another thing is speed. Apps are faster because they're installed on the device, where the web needs to load, otherwise cache anything from the internet. Another thing is updates. How frequently do you want to update your website or app? If you want to update it frequently, then the app is not really a good thing, because there's a lot of procedures that goes in about making the app and submitting it to the App Store and then waiting for their approval. And there are ways to circumvent that, but in general, the web, there's no restrictions. You can just go in and update it. There's nobody stopping you. And the last thing is discoverability, or SEO. And SEO is search engine optimization. And what this means is that if you want to get discovered organically through search engines, then apps are not a good idea, because apps are not really crawled by search engines. Meaning that you cannot just go on Google on the desktop and type whatever and that will take you to. You have to specifically search for it if it's an app. Otherwise, the web is crawled, and again, it's the same point as accessibility. You can just search it from any browser, any device that has a browser, and it will show up for you. So I'm going to talk about this topic called mobile first. And what mobile first, it's a philosophy that is relatively new. It has been adopted by Google in 2010. And as the name suggests, it's very simple. It just means that when you're thinking of making a website, why should you just think desktop website first and then I'll make the mobile? This thing has been turned on its head because of the mobile trends. So this thing came in where it says, wait, maybe you need to make a mobile app or website first and then go to the website. So this is a philosophy that's been trending lately. And what's good about it is that it taps into current growth. The growth that we're experiencing in mobile, it's enormous. So it taps into this current growth and prepares you for the future. So you don't need to think about the mobile after you make the desktop. Another thing is that it forces you to start small, and I've written two things here, which is graceful degradation, which is sort of a technical web term, versus progressive enhancement. And graceful degradation has been, this term is used in web design, and what it means is that if the browser that you're using to view your website, for some reason, cannot show the content because it's old, the content or the website will gracefully degrade the content so that it could be viewable for the device. So a lot of good websites use this technique. For example, if you use a text-only browser, some websites will show up neatly and nicely, and that means they just degrade nicely. And some websites, they just don't show on a text browser. So graceful degradation, when mobile came in, we're using the same method, we degrade the website gracefully to fit the mobile screen. In mobile first, we're not talking about degradation because there is nothing to degrade from. We're starting out as mobile. So we're progressing. So we're starting out very small. We're picking out the main tasks that we want to use for the purpose of the business. And we are progressively enhancing them and adding features and testing them. So these are just some tips, mobile design considerations. when you're thinking of designing a mobile website or app, usually if you have an app already or a desktop app and you want to take it to mobile, you usually remove features. And this is because we have a lot of limitations when it comes to the screen size, the different sizes that are getting smaller or bigger, and the battery. So less is more. That's the point. In the mobile, less is more in terms of the experience. Less gives you a better experience. That's why it's more. Another thing is that if you're making an app, think about the device sensors, the things like GPS, touch, and notifications. These things are very powerful, and a lot of apps do not use them. Notifications alone is very powerful because you have an easy channel that you can get to your users. Anybody that installs your app, you can send him a message at any time you want. And this message will actually just act as a normal SMS. It will light up in his device and he will receive it and check in from your website. You can say any message. And this is very powerful, a powerful marketing channel. Just to focus more on the behavior of mobile users. Mobile users differ a lot from desktop users. The desktop environment is a traditional computing environment. We are stationary. We are sitting down, and we're usually on a desk, and we're usually focused, and we were focused for hours in a desktop environment. In the mobile environment, it's very different. People are usually on the go, and they don't have much time, and they use quicker use cycles, meaning that it could be 20 seconds, that's when I use my device and that's it. So I need to design around that idea, that users don't have much time. I don't need to impress them with fancy animations that take a while. On the contrary, I need to save their time. So as much as I can, and this is a user experience thing, as much as I can, we should lessen the time that it takes to do anything as a task. Another thing that we should consider is that usually on everyone's phone we have a billion apps. So it's very hard to stand out between all these apps. Your apps have to have a purpose, and this is coming in the next slide. So these are more considerations or tips. If we're going mobile, whether you already have a site or you're starting to make a new one. So I'm just going to leave you with these food for thought things. You should frame what your app or website should do as an idea, and this is very obvious. But what you should be thinking about, especially if you already have a desktop site and you're going mobile, is that what value you're bringing to the mobile context. The context that I talked about, where users are always on the go and they don't have much time. So there has to be a certain value that I'm bringing them. We want to know exactly how the customers will use your app and what are the main tasks that they will do in your app. For example, for e-businesses, it's kind of a big topic because e-businesses are all on the web or on the phone, so there's a lot of things to do. But for another business that not necessarily an e-business or a blog or Instagram, almost 90% of these businesses, the use of their site would be the contact us page. Users will just go in and they just want to see where you are or what's your phone number or where your store is. So if you have a website, just do it yourself. Just go in and check, I want to go and see where the contact page is. And if it's hard, if your experience getting there is hard, that means you're potentially losing those users that are searching for you. So, again, focus on the main tasks. What are the main tasks of the apps, of your app? If you need to identify them, and you should start very small, and you need to focus on these tasks very well. Just change the design, change the user experience, make it better. And the last point is always trust your analytics. If you already have a website and you're thinking of going mobile, the first thing I say to anyone who asks me about this is just check your analytics, check your users. Where are your users coming from? Are they accessing your site from a web, a desktop, or a mobile platform? And that should give you, should fuel your decision on what to do or where to go from here. And that's it. Thank you very much.
From what I understand, you develop games. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
So, how do you make your games stand out from other games? You talked a lot about websites and applications, but when it comes to games, how do you stand out from the crowd?
الشغلة اللي بالفيديو جيمز أو الموبايل development it's at least in the region it's very rare. There aren't many businesses like that. To answer your question, how we stand out is that we try to set the quality level. We try to compare ourselves with global leaders, so that we are sure that this quality level is met when it comes to design, user experience, everything. So that we do ourselves. The second part is that we are we take a lot of feedback and we respond very quickly to feedback. So when anything happens in the game, we go into the app stores, different app stores. We read people's comments. We go on Twitter and Facebook and see what people are saying, what their pains are. As much as we can, we go and talk to users and listen from them. What do you need more in the game, or stuff like that.
Hi, I wanted to ask you more about your app development and how you do it, and also more about cross-platform app development.
Okay, so the question was for us app development, how we do it, and if we do cross-platform development. So basically, we design the games ourselves. We don't outsource anything. We started out as a group of friends. Actually, all of us had a technical background. So sort of, we're all gamers and we like games. So our first game, I quote, actually was just a fun project that we made before even we made the company. So while it was 2009 and Apple's iPhone was just coming out, it was just becoming popular. So we tried it as it was just a hobby thing that turned into a business at a later stage. So, like I said, the core team is only 3 people, two developers or 2 programmers and 1 designer. And I do some design work and some front-end development work. When it comes to cross-platform development, we use one of the engines that I listed, the cross-platform engines. And this is recently. And the engine we use is called Unity 3D. It lets you write your code once and build your application once, and then it will deploy it automatically on many platforms.